Hi guys, how you doing? This is a video about fluctuating your speed for the conditions of the road, and that will make you an elite driver. If you're doing that properly, that means that you're scanning, you're planning, you're really thinking, you're anticipating, and you're an amazing driver, because then you can do loads of gear changes and slow down. You've got the balls to slow the person behind you down, which is a skill in itself, yeah? So the reason why I'm bringing this up today is I've made videos about this before, and the camera's the other way around and I'm driving. I've done videos like that to show you the anticipation that you need. So I'm like, you need to anticipate this, anticipate that, and there's loads of that going on. If you want to watch a video like that, go and watch my other video. And I've also made videos about fluctuating speed for the conditions of the road to be the elite driver. I've done that, but this is a chat about it today. So basically, when you go to your driving test, there's kind of almost like a separation of two types of student-ish, if I can make it a generic kind of 50-50 split, just for the purposes of this exercise, for this video. So basically, when you go to test, it could be that you fall into a category of like, I'm going to drive really slow, I'm going to be like really careful today, and that backfires horribly because you're now driving like a learner. You're going too slow, you're hesitating, you're stopping unnecessarily, and yet you look like a learner still. That's going to go down like a lead balloon. The examiner's not looking for you to be a learner on your driving test. That bit's supposed to have gone, right? You've had all these driving lessons to be an independent driver, to be dropped into society without being noticed, you know. But then there's also the type of student who doesn't want to be driving too slowly, or maybe I've said to them, look, you don't want to be a learner, so now they're driving around at supersonically fast speed, and it's not correct for the conditions of the road. We're going way too fast in places like car parks, or we're coming up to a situation where it's really bad. You can't see properly because of parked cars. You don't know whether people are in between all the parked cars, bikes coming out, or you're driving way too quickly up to junctions and things like that without fluctuating your speed, and that is dangerous. So I had a student recently who was driving like that way too quickly, not fluctuating her speed at all, and I want to talk about this in this video because when I think about this student, I think about her hazard speed being too fast. I've only met her 3 times, I think it's 3, yeah, it must be 3. And on her last lesson, we had a chat about it, and I said to her, listen, you know, when I was driving over here today and I was thinking about your drive and what we were going to do on the driving lesson today, when I think of you, I think of your hazard speed being way too fast. And she like grinned a bit and she said, my mum says the same thing. Now, this is very interesting because her mum doesn't have dual controls, right? So her mum is saying to her, slow down, you're going too fast, blah, blah, blah. And the reason why her mum is saying that is because she doesn't feel safe. So I always say to my students, if your passenger can close their eyes or fall asleep, then you know that you are an elite driver. Okay, we're not talking about when you're drunk and you're getting a lift or anything, or you're really super tired. Like well, even if you were super tired, actually, you still wouldn't sleep in a car that you didn't feel like if you felt unsafe, you'd be like that, wouldn't you? But like, so her mum her safety alerts are being like illuminated, right? And she's going, slow down, because she knows about the danger of the road. She can see that the student can't see, her daughter can't see properly. So we need to go slower to anticipate the danger. And this is what's missing in my student. And I totally agree with her mum. We need to have way more anticipation. So on this 3rd lesson that I had, I just started to say to her, tell me about the hazards ahead. Now, immediately when I said this to my student, there was a blankness. There was a nothing. There was nothing in her mind, and I mean nothing. She went, and there was so many things to talk about. So many things. There was loads of parked cars. Perhaps the cars could pull away. Perhaps the doors could open. Perhaps people could walk in between, or bikes could come, which did happen on that lesson, which shocked the hell out of her later, which almost I felt like I could pay the bike for. But there was nothing in her mind. Now, when it became abundantly clear that she wasn't thinking at all about any hazards at all, I said to her, can I ask you a question? Do you think that everybody on the road is excellent and you are the weak one and you are the learner? And she said yes. And that is not true at all. She's very good, actually. She's very good. But what she's done is she's put everybody into the category of being an excellent driver. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Reason being is because people are drinking and driving. I've been, what time is it now? It's nearly 12 o'clock. I may have driven past many people today who are over the limit, either from the night before or they've been drinking today. People may have been on drugs who I've seen and driven past today. People may be on prescription drugs, which they shouldn't be, and it's made them woozy, and they're not allowed to do that either. People may not have a driving license. Now, when I spoke to her about this, she was like, oh, wow, okay. So that hit home a bit. She is driving almost like the kind of romantic version of driving, like everybody's going to behave themselves, and they're not. So when she's coming up to very dangerous situations, she's thinking that there's going to be no hazards there, when there could be loads of hazards. Like, we were driving down a narrow road and we were already talking about the speed, and we had reduced the speed. And for the conditions of the road at that time, in my opinion, were correct. Yeah, we were driving slower because we were talking about it, what could happen here. And she was starting to sort of like get the grips of like, oh, the door could open, you know, the person could move off, blah, blah, blah. And then this bike just came in between the cars. He was totally invisible until he came out and then just rode in front of us. And I was like, wow. And it made us stop. We didn't have to emergency stop, but we slowed down quite quickly for that. Luckily, if we'd been driving like she had been before, that could have been a disaster. And she was like, wow. And it was almost like I could pay him for it, because it came at a great time for me to prove the point. So the mind was completely clear. So all lesson I was like, talk to me about the hazards. What could happen here? And at first it was a big struggle for her. But then when she started to get to the habit of it, it was much better. Now, when we were at a junction, we made a positional fault. My student thought that the T-junction that we were coming up to was a one-way, and it was not. It was a normal T-junction. We were overtaking some parked cars which were quite close to the T-junction, and then my student was going to stay on the right, okay? So I had to help her come back into the left. It was a closed T-junction, couldn't see anything, and we were going to stay on the right. Now, after that situation became safer and I helped her get back to where she should have been, I said to her, we've made a relatively, and I called it an innocent mistake. And the reason why I've called it that is because we're learning how to drive. Yeah, she didn't mean to do that. So I did call it an innocent mistake, but obviously it's really bad. We're on the wrong side of the road momentarily before she got helped back to normal safety, right? But my point in talking to her about this situation is that if somebody on the main road who was coming down and turning into the T-junction had no anticipation, was driving way too quickly, maybe even trying to turn into the road in third gear or something, because they haven't even thought about a hazard being round the corner like a parked car, pedestrian, or a learner on the wrong side of the road, right? Then there's going to be an accident. And yes, I know that my student was in a wrong position for a while, for a moment longer than we should be. But that person coming in, if they've got no anticipation either, then the situation is even more scary than it should be. If you're going round a bend, you should anticipate that there's a lorry coming. You should anticipate that a car has bad position. You should anticipate that there's a bike or a motorcycle or a parked car around the corner or a pedestrian in the road. One of my students who was driving herself, this is years ago, but she said that she went round a corner and there was a person in the road on the floor drunk. I mean, how could you I mean, you know, the road is bonkers. You can't drive around like you are the weak person and everybody else is perfect with their little perfect hats on. Absolutely not. People are drunk, taking drugs. Maybe they've not driven for years, and then they've just been given a car and they're like, or their husband's died or whatever, and then they've got the car and they haven't driven for years, and they're on the road for the first time, making horrendous mistakes. Maybe people are in a mood and they're coming out of T-junctions and not taking the correct gaps. Maybe people they've slipped off the brake and they've gone into the junction. Guys, seriously, there's so much going on, okay? So we need to fluctuate the speed and conditions of the road. If you're driving around supersonically quickly for all situations without noticing the differences in the road and anticipating the danger, you are in so much more danger yourself. You're going to have an accident. It's just a ticking time bomb. It's going to happen. You need to think, this could happen. What if this happens? There needs to be so many more what ifs on the drive. Honestly, the road would be so much more of a safer place if everybody just went, what if there was a car around the corner? What if this was to happen? You know, it's so important. So you need to fluctuate your speed. The examiner is not looking out for you just to drive around really quickly or really slowly, like I said, but he doesn't want really quickly either. He needs to see this beautiful understanding of reading the road, understanding when you need to go slower, when you need to go faster. It's impossible for the speed limits, right, to change. You know, the 30 mile an hour will be in a red ring if that's the maximum speed limit, and it will always be there because it's on a stick, yeah? It doesn't matter if it's dark, it doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if it's ice and snow, that's still a 30 mile an hour sign, but you would drive differently for all of those conditions that I've just said. It will still say 30 if the road is clear. It will still say 30 if there's suddenly parked cars everywhere because there's an event going on at the church or the pub or somebody's house, there's a party. It will still say 30. It's up to you as the driver to notice the conditions of the road changing and for you to fluctuate your speed in conditions to the hazards that are on the road. It won't come up and just go 10, do 10 now because the conditions have changed. Do you see what I mean? It's really important. If you're in a car park, you need to drive slowly in case people are not doing their observations carefully and coming out of their bays and just not checking properly and nearly crashing into you. You could be ready with your horn. Yeah? So we need to fluctuate that speed in condition to the hazards that you're seeing. If your accompanying driver is asking you to slow down, like your whoever's taking you out, your parent or your friend or your colleague or whoever you've chosen to take you out, if they're telling you to slow down for certain situations or you're going too fast, you've literally heard them say, I don't feel safe, but in a different language. If they're asking you to slow down, they have directly told you that they don't feel safe. They have directly told you that your anticipation is low. You haven't thought about what could be, what if. It's really important. It's so, so important. Your driving instructor, if you've got one, if you're using a driving instructor, doesn't crash, right? Even though they are with hundreds of people who can't drive, they still don't crash. And this is because their anticipation is the elite. They are constantly thinking, this could happen here, this could happen here, because they've got so much in their head about what's happened in the past, or they're considering what ifs all the time. So they're coming up to a certain situation, they see a road on the left or they see a road on the right, or they see the traffic light being green for ages. They've already worked out that that's a danger place, that stuff could happen here. If you're going through a crossroads, they've already thought that people could run red lights on the left and the right. Their mind is not clear. Their mind is completely full of information to keep you safe from having an accident every time that you're together. Their anticipation is the elite. Can you imagine if your driving instructor didn't think, like the student I said before, if they just thought, oh yeah, like, you know, we're the weak person and everybody else is perfect, you would crash the same day, because everybody else, there's a lot of different people on the road, you know, with different skill levels of driving. And then, like I said, drugs, alcohol and all the rest of it. You're dealing with like a very wide scale of people. People can be on the road who are barely bronze level of skill, and you may know somebody at that level, whoever that person is. And then there may be somebody who's the elite, who maybe like is, I don't know, a policeman or an advanced driving or whatever, the elite. But these people are all in the same realm. The elite can mix with the bronze. Yeah, the ditziest person that you know at school, yeah, with the ditziest person that you can possibly think of. Let's do the generic blonde thing, like, you know, even though I'm starting to go blonde myself, putting myself down. But like, you know, You know, the ditziest person can be on the road if they've passed their test, you know, and then the elite can be on the road. Guys, I'm going to finish up now because it's turning into a very long video, but fluctuate your speed in condition to the hazards that you're seeing. Don't just go really fast because you're like, I don't want to be a learner, and I've been told that learners are really slow and blah blah blah. You need to go slowly for certain situations. Your gears are like an array of painters' brushes. You know, the painter will need to get the little brush out, gear 1, when there's detail to make. And then when he's got a big thing to do, like a wall, he'll get the big brush out because he doesn't really matter, it's fine, you know. But you need to get the little detail out sometimes, you know. And that's fine because you need to go slower. And the speed limit may not have changed when you're using your big brush, you know, to your little detailed brush. Do you know what I mean? It's just the hazards on the road. All right, guys, if you want to watch the moving videos of those where I'm talking, just find the other ones. All right, guys, but I really hope that helps you today. And, you know, commentary drive. Talk to your driving instructor or your accompanying driver about the hazards. It will make you so much better at driving. Your driving instructor, part of their driving test is to commentary drive. Well, it certainly was when I became a driving instructor. I know that there's been some changes, but I had to prove that I could commentary drive so I could point out all the hazards. And that's why I'm so good at it. That's why like lots of my videos of me are me commentary driving, because I'm good at that. You know, of course I am. I mean, I'm a driving instructor. We all are, you know, or we should be. If they've passed their test, they are. All right, guys. So, yeah, really hope that helps you. And, yeah, I'll see you on the next video.